Soundly defeated. That's how we begin this episode. Episode
Nice. I like that.
55. Thank you very much. Episode 55 of LAFC Plus. He is Mario Ruiz. I'm Dave Denholm. We are part of the LAFC radio broadcasting team on the English-speaking side on 710 ESPN in Los Angeles. You can also hear us on the Apple TV Plus games. If you click on the home button when we're the home team, there's a home radio button there. And that was where we were last night as we record this Wednesday evening at BMO Stadium, a thrashing of the Seattle Sounders by LAFC. Mario Ruiz, that was a lot of fun, a 4-0 victory.
So much fun. I still got the scarf from last night. Oh, I love it. What a night that was. Dave, I'm going to call that one the Midweek Masterpiece. That's what I'm going to call that one because it was really the best performance of LAFC all season long from front to back, from the opening whistle to the final whistle. And you kind of knew something special was going on very, very early on, right, Dave? From the opening whistle where LAFC had possession for 2 minutes and 24 seconds and a total of 47 consecutive passes. Thanks for that stat, Seth Burton, of course, who counted those up for us. But yeah, early on, we kind of knew something special was going on. It was just cool to see everybody pinging the ball all around, up and down the field. And that was just the beginning of a great, brilliant performance by LAFC. It's now 6 games in a row unbeaten for the black and gold.
Yeah, stopping a 5-game unbeaten streak from Seattle, their first loss in the 6
True.
matches. I got to say, just that start you talked about and pinging those passes around. Now, again, didn't lead to like some crazy early goal or anything but it kind of set the tone, Mario. I don't think it wasn't as though Seattle didn't try or they really just had no energy. But they weren't on, I don't know, it just didn't feel the same. LAFC wanted it more. I know it's a sports cliche, but LAFC just went out and grabbed that game by the scruff of the neck and wouldn't let it go. And Seattle had no answer. They just didn't. And again, some slightly rotated sides. I think LAFC was more rotated, if you will, based on Seattle's got a game coming up Saturday. LAFC, of course, their rivalry weekend game against LA Galaxy on Sunday. But it just didn't feel like it just, the Sounders had some chances. Hugo Ruiz made a couple of nice saves. But again, it wasn't like they weren't trying or so like they mailed in the game, but the Sounders were just second best, really, from the opening whistle. That's how amazing that performance was and why they were soundly defeated, I kind of joke. But
I love that.
The score line, that could have ended 2-0, and it might have been the same kind of, maybe not quite the same feeling, but just dominance. Even when it was 2-0, I was never worried.
I think, Dave, what's happening right now, is LAFC is just ramping up at the right time. And let's hope this just, continues all the way up to the end of the month for that massive game against Club America on the 31st. But this is something that the LAFC has been doing with Steve Cherundolo there at the helm. I think his first year, LAFC started to ramp it up heading right into those playoffs. Got the MLS Cup. Next year, same thing. Made it back to the MLS Cup final as they had ups and downs all season long, but picked it up at the very, very end of the season and ran right into that final. Leagues Cup as well. It seems like this is what Steve Cherundolo knows how to do with LAFC, and let's hope that is true heading on to the Derby match this weekend and on through the rest of the month, because there's that big game on the 31st against Club America, which of course punches that ticket to the FIFA Club World Cup, which we're all, excited about.
Yes, certainly would like to be peaking right about then, no doubt about it. May 30th is about the good time to be peaking at training. The next day you play your best game, hopefully you've ever played, frankly, against Club America, because that leads on to bigger and better things. But one thing I will say, I think these practices, even though this is a week that's jammed together, we haven't had this since, being knocked out of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. This is our first Wednesday MLS game of the season. So you're seeing what these practices are doing for a whole week, in a sense. I think guys are combining better individually with each other. There's more cohesiveness. I just need only point to Olivier Giroud. Remember, when he was signed, Olivier Giroud is not a guy who was scoring 35 goals a season in Europe, ever. That's not his game. Now, certainly he can score, and he's had his seasons where he scored a lot, but he also assisted a lot. He played that number 9 spot. He got his teammates involved. And I think we're seeing even more of that from Giroud now. Gets the assist on the Yeboah goal, the 4th goal of the game. But we're seeing where he's really combining more with his teammates than he ever has in terms of the passes are now, hitting their target in a sense, or they're on the same page where the guy's making the right run because Olivier clearly knows what he's doing up there. And I think these practice sessions, even though he's not starting, even he's starting to kind of, and it's showing throughout the whole team. In other words, like, doesn't matter who's out there right now in a lot of ways. We saw that yesterday, a rotated squad, 5 new players from the previous weekend, the game in Vancouver. No surprise. You're playing second game in 3 days, basically, and you've got another one coming up on the weekend. So you knew there would be some rotation, but it's also all 16 players. The 5 off the bench last night, Mario, everybody played well. I mean, nobody had even a mediocre game. I thought it's only levels of greatness last night, honestly, from all the players. And that's when you had a complete performance, and that truly was that. I think it was the most complete game of the season, without a doubt. Not just the scoreline again, which is a nice reward certainly for that type of performance, but it just was a game that Seattle just looked second best the whole night. Like, there was never a doubt, and I know they're missing a few players too. Everybody, has their injury, concerns at some point, but it just was never in question. They were always second best, and LAFC, always going to dominate that match right from the opening whistle, literally right from the opening whistle with that start. Seattle didn't even touch the ball till almost the fourth minute. So that's insane.
I think that performance just really shows how deep and talented the roster is. And John Thornton and the entire front office have put together a really good team. They assembled a really good team, and everyone just stepped up, on a night where, like you say, there was rotation, in the starting 11. There was 5 normal starters that were not in the starting 11. But you had guys like Smoliakov who came in and had an amazing game. The entire game he was out there. Santa Ana's own Frankie Amaya, it was great to see him out there in front of his family and get the start. And he was all over the pitch as well. Cengiz Under, he was in the starting 11, and he had the big goal to set the night off, of course. And just watching Under in that left foot, that left foot is just so beautiful off the corner kick, set pieces. Of course, when he wants to take a shot on goal. And then later on in the match, you have Yaya Boa come in off the bench. He comes in late. He gets in on the scoring action on that goal that, like you said, Giroud, he made the assist on that play there, but he could have had that shot. But he chose to give that ball to Yeboah, and Yeboah, of course, did what he did, and it was not easy what he did, because he had to fake out the opponent, and he did that. The opponent did the splits. Yeboah puts it on the right, and then boom, there's the goal. So I talked to Yeboah, matter of fact, after the game, and I talked to Yeboah about the depth of this team, and here's what he had to say.
Everybody stepped up tonight. It was a little bit of a rotated lineup. Then players came off of the bench and made an impact. What's that say about the depth of this roster?
I think we've been training really, really good. Everybody, the whole group, everybody has been training really, really good. So getting the changes in the game was not going to be any difference. So everybody stayed ready. Everybody was ready. Been competing in training. And for me, everybody that will step on the pitch will deliver. And I think that's what we all saw it, Everybody played really, really well. Amazing game. And then a great victory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it really was a great night for Yeboah, and he had his son in his arm after the game, and it was just an awesome night to see him.
It really was. I'm gonna play the third goal from the broadcast. This is my call of the Denis Bouanga's goal, and the reason I picked it, we'll talk a little bit more about that afterwards. Here's the third goal.
To Jesus, there's breaking lines up to Martinez in midfield, and he can turn. He finds Denis with a good run. Bouanga attacking the 18. He's going to put it on his left, back to his right, in towards the 6, and in! Denis Bouanga has scored, and here comes the front flip of celebration. It's 3-0. You're not taking this one away, VAR. David Martinez with the assist, and Denis Bouanga with the goal. Oh, jump for LA Football Club, ole, ole. Denis stays red hot with his 6th goal. What a build-up from LAFC. Martinez with a great turn into his own space. Found Denis at the top of the area, and Bouanga did the rest. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they deserve the jump for LA Football Club. I don't really bring those out too often, but that made it 3-0, and the way they were playing. And this is, David Martinez had the best goal of the night. It was called back on an offside, so
Yeah.
That's how good these goals were all night long, really. One after
And it was
the
a good call by you, Tape. That was an awesome call on that Denis Bouanga. Go as the listeners can listen, can hear that one. You can check that out on 710 ESPN. Each and every game is on the ESPN LA app. 710 ESPN is the home of LAFC, so make sure you're checking us out on the broadcast. Dave is on the play-by-play call each and every game. But, Dave, it's no coincidence that the LAFC are getting hot right now on this moment, at this time, on this run of 6 games unbeaten, because Denis Bouanga is hot. And when he gets hot, LAFC gets hot. Of course, he's the man here at LAFC. He's on a run of 6 games, 6 goals. So watch out when Denis gets hot like this. The rest of the league's got to watch out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's climbing up the goal scoring charts again in MLS. After really, as Mario alludes to, with this hot start, he was not hot early. Same thing last season. First 4 or 5 games didn't score. Same thing this season. Then he explodes. Ends up with 20 last season, 20 the year before. We'll see what he does this year. He's well on his way. 6 goals already. And the reason I highlighted that goal, though, was not really so much for Denis, although he is a part of that. 80th minute, you brought in subs, David Martinez and Nathan Ordaz. Right? Yeah. They're just blowing by people at that point with those tired Seattle legs.
They were.
It would look like Martinez was on 2x speed playing like a video game against guys running in 1x speed or something, and Ordaz doing the same thing. Just, a couple offsides, yes, a couple of things that aren't always going to come together necessarily. There was a pass David tried to lay off to Denis, and they weren't on the same page, and Martinez just mishit it and immediately was apologizing. But Denis doesn't care. He wants that kind of play. He wants Martinez to try those things, and Martinez was just slicing and dicing through that defense with fresh legs, and he's tough enough to defend when you are fresh and he's coming. Maybe he starts a game. He's tough enough to defend when you're going at it. Let alone when he's coming in the 65th or 70th minute and you've been running around chasing Denis Bouanga again, who has there's an unstoppable engine with Denis. That's the point.
Yeah,
like he's running equally with the fresh legs of Ordaz and Martinez in the 80th minute. Just absurd. That's
what a shame though to take away that goal from David Martinez. A beautiful goal, like you said, the goal of the night. Still, I don't know the real reason. I don't know if it's clear why it was disallowed. I talked to Nathan Ordaz after the game. He said he doesn't know why. There was no explanation given to him on that play. David was talking to Apple TV, he was telling Apple TV that he didn't know why it was disallowed. So what a shame, but it was kind of a weird play where Ordaz, his boot came off a few seconds earlier in the play. He was out there with just a sock and then a cleat on the other foot. So he picked up his boot and he's running while the play is going on. The ball comes to him. He doesn't know what to do with his boot, so he throws it on the ground and then he continues to play. And then the goal happens and it's like the referee calls the whistle, says no goal. It's a shame. It's a very unique play, weird play, but man, I wish that goal was allowed because it was a beauty.
Oh my goodness. That was one of the goals of the season for LAFC with Martinez. The defender just was faked out of his shorts, it was just unreal. The turn, you should try to go find a highlight of it. It might be hard because it was called offside, as it turned out. You might be able to find that highlight. I didn't really look for it in terms of video for it. Holy cow! That just shows you. I don't care if it wasn't a goal. People will look at that. Scouts can look at that. Teams from around the world can look at that and see David Martinez's talent right there. It doesn't matter.
Dave,
just incredible. Incredible.
After sitting down with him earlier this week, sitting down with David Martinez, we're talking about here, I got to know him a little bit more just in the few minutes that we were sitting down and talking 1v1. And I just realized that he is 19 years old still. But on the pitch, he looks like just one of the guys because he's that good, right? And he has that much confidence and he's that good on the pitch, but he has that dog in him, right? So but also, tough dogs, those tough dogs, they need training too, right? They need to be taught how to behave sometimes. And he kind of knows that. He knows that, when he does something wrong, he's mature enough to sit back and listen, and learn from the veterans. And I was talking to him about that. And I was talking to him about how the transition was from Venezuela at 17 years old to come out here to this big city of Los Angeles and just the culture shock, and he said that Ilie Sanchez was the one that really, really helped him out whenever he was here the first couple of days here in LA and really showed him around LAFC and LA. And he said Bouanga really helps him out a lot, even though they don't speak the same language, but they understand each other. And I thought that was very cool. And he said Hugo Lloris as well helps him out a lot. And so it's just cool to get to know him and give you guys some of that information as well.
Yeah, amazing. A 19-year-old Hugo Lloris is twice that age and is helping the kid out, because Hugo Lloris has seen it all, obviously experienced it all literally on the pitch. So he can help David. Look, people will blame me for hyperbole. I got a sports talk radio background, as Mario does. So we, occasionally you'll have your opinions that get a little out of hand. Some people don't agree. I said it before. I'll say it again. Anybody not named Messi, David Martinez is the most talented player in MLS. I mean, it doesn't mean he's the finished product or the best player yet by any means. I'm not saying that, but he's the most talented. I mean, that's just it's pretty easy for my eyes to see that after watching.
And he's getting better, Dave. I think this potential still, the potential has not been fulfilled yet. I think he's still improving.
And he can, that's the thing. I mean, we see trajectories of players all the time. Sebastian Berhalter's 24, and he's just now hitting his stride, over at Vancouver. So it can take a roller coaster sometimes. It depends, it's just how hard guys work, how much they continue to progress. And at that age, there's still a lot. You're right. There's still a lot to learn. There's a lot to get better at. But there is a lot of runway too. And also, maybe it does. Maybe he's just scratching the surface. That's what you're hoping for, of course, with a guy with this much talent. But there's nobody more talented in MLS. I mean, obviously, other than Messi, we always have to preface that he's at a whole unique level that will never be duplicated, and we all know that. But Martinez is just.
And the rest of the league is knowing that too. The rest of the league is starting to talk about him. Commentators, analysts are starting to talk about him. Broadcasters, they're all starting to see it as he steps into their stadium and he plays. They see it firsthand, and they're like, "Wow!" Because he passes the eye test right away. You just see it.
Yeah. No. Well, look at too. Here's the thing that I think Denis Bouanga kind of skewers things a bit for other wingers. There's not a lot of wingers in MLS that score like Denis. That's unique. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a position where you're really trying to set up your number 9 a lot of times in most systems, a lot of teams. Look at even some other, LAFC wingers. Now, of course, LAFC is built differently. Carlos Vela played on the wing and was a destroyer, best season in MLS history. One of the greatest players in the history of the game, quite frankly, at any level. Carlos Vela, right? One of the most talented players you've ever seen. So, he was, but that's special for LAFC. A lot of teams, your wingers are not meant to have to score 20 goals a season or try to. So, but David Martinez is a winger. He's not necessarily going to score 20 goals. Now, he could. And obviously, a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo spent a lot of time out on the wing. Of course, there are some greats that, certainly can do it. And Denis Bouanga can score like that, and he's supposed to. And that's what our system is built for. So maybe, it's a little different, but, Cengiz Ünder out there, he's not necessarily going to score 15 goals, but it's about just destroying defenses and setting up your teammates and scoring good goals for yourself, of course. But I mean, that's how you're not going to necessarily look at the stats all the time and be like, well, why does everybody keep talking about David Martinez? He's only only got this many goals, but look at the minutes played, and then look at how he just destroys defenders 1v1. I mean, there's just no answer for him. You can't stop the kid 1v1.
You got to do it on a consistent basis, right? I think one of the words that Cherundolo uses a lot is consistency, and that's going to be the hardest part for a team and for a player is to do good, be great on a consistent basis, and that's going to be the toughest challenge for LAFC from here on out. And how does LAFC consistently perform like that? I talked to Hugo Lloris about that. I was talking to Hugo about the upcoming derby match, and he talked about that. And then he also talks about, the consistency that they need going forward.
That derby you're talking about is in Carson against the Galaxy. They haven't got a win yet this season, but crazy things always happen in derby matches, right?
No, forget about the table. Forget about what they've been done the last few weeks, last few months. We know how important is a derby. And so that's the mentality that we have to show during Sunday afternoon. And now we reach a level of performance. We need to stay there. We don't want to go back again through up and downs. We want to reach consistency, and so that's the biggest challenge ahead of us. But yes, derby is a derby. Doesn't matter. You just want to win.
Big win tonight. Thanks for the time, Hugo.
Yeah, thank you.
Back to you, Dave.
I completely
he's
agree.
right.
Yeah, I mean,
he's so right. It's not easy to do this, Dave, to stay at this level and play like this, have everybody pulling in the same direction. Once you start doing that, then special things start to happen like last night against Seattle.
And before we do go to the Galaxy game and this derby that Hugo's talking about, we'll get back to that too. Shout out, saving the best for last. Not that these, that all the other players didn't play great. They all did, all 16 of them. But I got to just single out a few that I want to give some praise to. Smoliakov, you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't play a ton, only his 4th start. I think it was his 8th appearance maybe in MLS play. So it's not like he's played every match. Didn't play much in the Champions Cup. Just an incredible performance at that left back spot. One of the best I've seen, all year from anyone in the league. Just coming off just coming off essentially not playing for a while, and then he's thrown in the starting lineup against a tough team, and incredible. So he's about to turn 22. Happy birthday to him, Sue. I mean, that was a great. He's giving us a birthday gift playing like that. Incredible performance. I thought Igor Jesus played about the best game I've seen a number 6 play all season in MLS. Just both sides of the ball, impeccable. I mean, just incredible. Even when he gave the ball away the one time, it led to the goal because he dug it out from Pedro de la Vega, made a brilliant tackle, and immediately delivered a perfect pass. And it wasn't like a 5-yarder up the pitch. This was a long ball right to the guy who I also want to proclaim save the best for last in a way, Jeremy Ebobisse. Wow, what more can you say about this guy? A professional's professional. Just, not starting every match, of course, hasn't been, playing a ton. And his only his 4th MLS start of the season, and just keep scoring and scoring great goals where they're so well taken. It's not like they're golazos where you're going to see them 20 years from now on film or something, but they're perfectly taken goals. So they are golazos in that sense, that he knows exactly what he wants to do with that ball, Mario, all the time at the top. You give him the ball at that top. Remember when Carlos Vela used to get the ball on the wing and he'd put it in a spot on his left foot, and you're like, well, that's in, because why did you give him that spot? It's from about 17 yards out on that far side of the 18. Carlos would just curl, and the goalkeeper had zero chance, right? Like, it was just like, okay, why give him that spot? You cannot give Jeremy Ebobisse the spot at 22 yards out from the top of the area, because he picks out that corner every time. Like,
it's about finishing. It's about finishing, because you could have all the talent in the world and you can break down defenders and get to the spot and take a shot. But if you can't finish, then there is no goal. There is no highlight. Jeremy Ebobisse knows how to finish.
Absolutely. But he doesn't need just those kind of goals. He was a Yohei Takaoka fingernail away from scoring the game winner against Vancouver late, where he would have had another goal because he was on the doorstep waiting, and being that poacher kind of number 9. He can do it all. Like, he can pass, he can hold up play. Just a great addition to this roster. Incredible player, just a true pro. That's how I look at Ebobisse, because again, not necessarily going to be in the lineup every match. He's got to be ready, though.
He knows he has to be ready when his number is called, and that's what he does.
He's just a perfect run. He sees it way in advance, and so does Jesus. Thankfully, delivers a perfect ball, but he's still got a lot of work to do. I mean, it was a great pass, but it wasn't as though it was a one-time shot. He had a lot of work to do. Essentially 1v2, 1v1.5 defenders. Maybe the guy behind him was so late, and he took him out of the play. And then he just knows where he wants to put the ball, and it's Andrew Thomas picking it out of the back of the net. Just great.
And Jesus earns man of the match. He was earning man in the match after he gets the ball, right off his face. It ricochets off his face, off his eyeball. His eye was all red, and they were giving him the whole concussion protocol and everything. He comes back and has one of the best games of his career, probably, and one of the best games. So great job to him.
Look, he'll make some mistakes because he's aggressive, which I like. He's uber aggressive. He's tough. He's built. He's not going to get pushed around, and yet he has that offensive flair too when he needs it.
He does.
He's not just a destroyer. Where some guys play the 6th position, they destroy the other team's offense, but they also destroy their own offense a lot of times. Like they can't get out of the mud in a sense. In some ways, there's some guys who play the position that way. We won't name names, Diego Chara, but there is a guy like, and I'm joking with Diego Chara, great player, of course. I sports hate the Portland
sports
Timbers.
hater. Yeah.
But he's not the most offensive weapon. Jesus adds to the offense, and that's what I love about him. Like, he's not just the destroyer number 6, who he is, quite frankly, and he played an incredible match. But you're right. He deserved man of the match. You could have picked literally any of the 16 out of a hat and been like, oh, okay, I can make an argument for them to win the man of the match. Any of them. That was the beauty of the match, though. That was how you win 4-0 against a great team. And that's what LAFC did. So, well, speaking of great teams, here's the tricky part of this upcoming derby, the biggest match on the schedule when you look at it, those 2 games in the regular season at least. Of course, against the Galaxy. This one's 12 miles south down at Dignity Health Sports Park coming up on Sunday. Mario, I'm hearing I want to dispel something right off the bat. Okay, first and foremost.
Yep.
It is a throw out the records, quote unquote, rivalry, right? That cliche. Yes. Hugo Ruiz is correct. No doubt. It doesn't matter that the Galaxy are 0-15 or whatever they are. They're terrible. The Galaxy are terrible right now. They are. But yes, they could still do damage. But I think a lot of LAFC fans, we've been so shell-shocked at times in this rivalry, which what kind of makes it special is that I hear a lot of people like, oh boy, they're going to get the first win against us. Like, look, the way LAFC is playing, the way the Galaxy are playing, there is no excuse. Now, again, it's a rivalry match. It could happen. I'm not sitting here telling you that it's an automatic win. There's no such thing in MLS, ever. But you got to go take care of business. This is an opportunity against your rival when they are down to kick more sand in their face. That's how you have to approach this, Mario. No, none of this, oh boy, I'm worried. All right, let's turn the page on that. We're too good for that. They're too bad for that. They're terrible. They are a horrific team right now, and they know it. I mean, just bury them. Let's go out and play the exact same way in terms of the performance and get it done. Not going to be easy. Again, it could, they could bite us in the rear. There's no doubt, but they shouldn't, right? I mean, come on, let's just get a better attitude about this and go get the 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, this could be the best thing to happen for the Galaxy at this point on their schedule. And it also can be the absolute worst thing, right? Because if they do have a good performance, somehow pull out a point or something from out of this game, then that can kind of like save face for them, give them a little bit of buying time, right? As the stretch that they're on is just the worst stretch of all time. But also, if they were to get thrashed by LAFC at home in this derby match, wow, that's got to be rock bottom for them. I mean, somebody would have to pay, right? And obviously that'd probably be the head coach, Greg Vanney, but you can't put all the blame on him. Yes, there is some blame to go onto Greg Vanney, but what about the players? I mean, some of these games, I'm noticing these guys giving up. I'm noticing they're defeated at times. I'm noticing sloppy defense. Where's the leadership at on this Galaxy team from the players as well? It's not just on Greg Vanney.
That's the one thing I don't expect to happen against LAFC, though, is the giving up, which they have, it seems, at times. The terrible sloppiness. I mean, maybe that still happens if LAFC pressures them.
Yeah, why wouldn't it happen again if LAFC were to jump on them?
Quit, and they're going to have a good match. That's the thing. The Galaxy are going to play well on Sunday because it is the rivalry. It is the derby. So you throw away the records. But that doesn't mean they're going to be, they should still have no business beating us. We're just so much better than them. That's, now again, there's obviously mitigating factors. Ricky Puig, say what you will, he's clearly world class. And I don't throw that term around lightly. I mean, he makes a difference, like obviously.
Yeah.
And they have to get rid of Mark Delgado. We know how important he is. Obviously, he's been huge for LAFC. They had to get rid of Gaston Brugge. But you know what, too? I mean, I love Will Kuntz, even though he's the Galaxy GM now. But, they're using the kind of the excuse that they had to get rid of a lot of salary. And look well, you went for it and it paid off. Okay, kudos, whatever, you won. They're never taking that championship away from the Galaxy. They won it, just like we won it in 2022. But here's the thing. Other teams win the title. They know what's coming. LAFC face the same thing. The cap starts hitting you in the nose, right? It starts punching you right back. That's what a salary cap league does. Did Will Kuntz not know this was coming? Of course. So you can't really kind of use it as an excuse. I mean, there's a little bit of that, of course. You have to get rid of Dejan Joveljic. I understand you had to shed a lot of salary. Well, you knew that was coming. You went for it. It paid off. Well, here you go. You have to be ready for what happens. When LAFC won in 2022, we didn't fall off a cliff the next season, right?
Yeah.
There's a team that wins every year in MLS. Okay, so Will, it's not a new thing to Will Kuntz, the GM, out there talking about how much salary that is. Yes, those are facts. I get it. It is a factor, but it's not an 10-3 factor. Neither is Ricky Puig being out, frankly, right? Because he is world class, but you still have other professional soccer players on your roster. You know, Marco Ruiz, I seem to remember him being pretty good. You know, so it's like there are factors, yes, but this is like historically bad. And again, this team is not as bad as their record, right? I mean,
yeah, that's where you question the effort from the players, right? You don't necessarily question even the front office sometimes or the head coach. It's got to come from the players when you're playing this bad, because there's a lot of teams with bad rosters that are not playing this bad and have not gone off to the worst start in MLS history with 13 games without a win.
Now, there's no excuse for not playing as hard as you can as a pro, right? We know. But look, you can kind of incorporate it to a lot of jobs. I mean, I've been on some lousy sports talk shows in my career, and I was a part of that. That was my fault too. But it's hard every day to go into work when you're kind of doomed to fail. You know, like they know how bad it is, and that every game it seems to get worse. I mean, my goodness, Wednesday night they're up 2-0 on the road at Philly, which is a brutal place to get points, or at least most of the time. The Phillies had a bad year there at home, but most of the time they're brutally tough to beat at home. At Philadelphia, I mean. They go on the road after all this misery. They're up 2-0, or they lose 3-2 in the 96th minute. I mean, my goodness. Like, holy cow. But that's not for a lack of trying on Wednesday night. So they're going to give LAFC every bit that they can. I'm just telling you, we can't be worried about that. You go play well, and you're going to win. I mean,
that performance against Philly last night was actually one of their better performances, at least the first half. So I think they're going to try to go off of that and see what they can do after that first half. But I mean, conceding 10 goals in the last 2 games, not good. And just the way that they're losing in embarrassing fashions, you know, where other teams are not even getting a shot on goal, but yet they find a way to have an own goal and they lose that match. So just different things like that. It's just very bad time right now, you know.
All streaks do come to an end, right? So let's just hope it's one more game at least, you know, like that, and that happens Sunday night.
There is that sentiment too, you know, around fans and stuff, LAFC fans that do feel like, oh, you know, like that streak could be coming to an end. And look what happens every single derby match. Galaxy always come up, you know, to play, and they always show up. It's always a wild game. There is that to it, but it's hard to see that for this one, you know.
Look, we're all human. We do have those kind of thoughts when it comes to this crazy rivalry at times. But I think we're too good right now to be thinking like that, is my point. We're just now starting to kind of, here we go, you know, and maybe we're catching them at a good time, even though it seems like, oh no, you know, like they haven't won a match, and like that streak is going to end at some point, but maybe we're catching them at the right time, especially for a road match down there. It's not like we've had huge success at Dignity Health Sports Park by any means in our history. And not that we haven't won, but, you know, obviously the Galaxy have done better there than they have at our place against us, certainly. So not going to be easy, don't get me wrong, but let's just go in there knowing, frankly, if we play well, we should destroy them. I mean, it's not
with the momentum that LAFC have going on right now, 6 games unbeaten, flying high after that Seattle win, 4-0 at home, going into Carson, knowing that this could be rock bottom if you step on them on this one and take them down in the derby game in Carson. So, yeah, I'm expecting a lot of fun here for black and gold fans in Carson.
I mean, look, the Galaxy have 2 MLS Cup final games this season, both against LAFC. That's it. That's their whole season now. That's it, right? That's going to be their whole season, is this match and the one coming up at BMO later. I mean, that's all. So that is pressure, no doubt. I mean, it isn't going to be easy. I'm not saying that. But if you go play well and go do what you're supposed to do as LAFC, we'll crush them. We should crush them. I mean, derby or not, look, I mean, it has happened before in this game for both sides. Most of them are close and crazy. We know that.
Yeah.
There's been some thrashings in the series too, you know, both ways. So we can certainly add to their misery, and let's hope that happens on Sunday. Again, that game coming up, airtime's 5:30 p.m. Pacific on ESPN LA 710 and the ESPN LA app, which is a great app. Also, it will not be a home game, so again, I'm not going to be on the Apple broadcast where you can hit the home game button, but it is a road match, 12 miles down on the 110, and it is the biggest derby in MLS. I don't, all due respect to a couple other really good ones. In fact, we're going to talk about one of those now. We did have some big results last night. We'll worry about those in MLS. Let's go to the preview of the weekend, Mario. A massive game in the Eastern Conference. I picked it. I think you would have. Had I not kind of picked it first, I guess. It is the Hell is Real derby. As Ohio native myself, it's a big game in this state. This thing has really captured the attention, no doubt, of both those markets. But the state in general, two great teams. Columbus Crew, Cincinnati. This one will be in Columbus. At a very tough place to play, as we know. But, boy, those teams are riding high right now, Mario. These are two of the best teams in MLS going at it.
Two of the best teams in MLS. Really a joy to watch both teams, as much as I sports hate Columbus Crew. Cincinnati is one of my favorite teams to watch with a lot of my favorite players like Evander. Those guys are just loaded, but Cincinnati is on top of the East right now at the moment after the results from last night, and they're coming off a big win versus Toronto FC where, Cincinnati didn't really look like their best, but they actually pulled out the win, the victory. They got the full 3 points on the road, so that is huge. They're healthy. They just added Kai Kamara to their talented roster, and of course, we're happy for former LAFC striker Kai Kamara. He's joined he joined Cincinnati, and we're just happy for him because he's ageless, and we know that he could still add a lot to any roster, any team out there in MLS. Just a tremendous player who can score, who can get you a goal at a very much needed time, and he's going to be playing with Evander. So Evander's going to be setting up with some nice crosses the rest of the season long. And I bet you Kai is going to get along really well with Evander in those corner kicks.
Yeah, and the thing about Cincinnati, to me, you kind of alluded to it. I don't even think they've played that great this year overall. I think they would tell you we still got a lot of levels, even though 8 wins, tops in the, they're right up at the top of the East. Certainly one of the best teams. I'm not saying that, but they haven't even really kind of played at the highest level they could, I don't think. And maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they are tapped out. I don't think so, though. They got more levels, and that's scary. Columbus, we know, mad respect for the Crew and Wilfred Nancy. He'll always have that team ready. Wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a thrilling tie. Both teams are going to be flying. The Hell is Real derby, if you don't know, the name comes from a billboard that is on the main highway between the two cities. They're not like that far apart, but they're not like, it's not like they're 20 minutes apart either. A couple hour plus ride down the main freeway in the state. And there's a billboard between them that says Hell is Real. That's the whole billboard. So that's the name of the derby. And I think it fits too, in a way, because they go at these two fan bases don't like it. The old sports cliches, they hate each other. There's a lot of animosity between the two cities. Being an Ohio native, if you know anything about Cincinnati, they think they're too cool for everybody in the state. There's a lot of disrespect. It feels like none of us really care for Cincinnati either. So although I don't really want Columbus to win either, I want it to be a 0-0 draw, frankly. But I don't really want either team to have any success. But somebody might have to win this thing, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully it's just a drab draw. But I don't think it's going to be, certainly. Even if it's a draw, these games are amazing for the neutral observer too. It's the right choice. Do you have any other games you want to highlight? I know I stole that one from you, but
no, on the West. So on the West, there's a pretty intriguing game. Austin FC hosting Vancouver. I want to go to this one because I think. How does Vancouver bounce back from that 2-2 draw against LAFC last Sunday? And how do they go on the road versus an Austin team that has had some ups and downs, I think, but I think has a lot of potential still. They got a lot of talent. And I think, they're still trying to find that chemistry. And I think if they were to take down the number 1 team in the West, Vancouver, I think that could help them out to really build towards that potential that they feel that they can reach. And I think for Vancouver, they want that supporter shield. They want to get back to the top of that supporter shield. And right now it's FC Cincinnati. So I think it's a big game in the West.
Yeah, that's a great shout. It really is. Because, I mean, you could argue that maybe LAFC punched Vancouver in the nose a little bit. Again, they battled back, didn't get the loss, which might, certainly would have hurt worse. But you could argue that maybe and maybe, honestly, this is a tough stretch for Vancouver because maybe they got one eye on a much bigger game coming up on June 1st, obviously, taking on Cruz Azul in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. Who could blame them for that? I mean, you're not supposed to do that as a professional. We all know that, but you couldn't really blame them for maybe having one eye on that match too. So maybe Austin can kind of spring an upset. The thing about Austin, without scoring much so far this season, and Mario talked about the chemistry, they're still hard to beat because they don't give up a lot. And Brad Stuver's really good in goal. They don't give up a lot of, maybe that's part of the reason their offense isn't flying yet because they don't want to give up a lot. And they don't play to open up the match too much. Their ideal game is how they played against us, beating us at BMO, the only team to do that this season, 1-0, and they barely had a sniff at goal, but it didn't matter. They wouldn't give up anything. They got the goal they needed, locked it down, and that's how they want to play, And now, they're not flying high offensively, but they have the weapons, and if they can figure that out and not open up too much, man, they're going to be tough. That's one of the reasons they're still they didn't fall completely off the face of the earth without scoring a lot of goals because that
they're right there.
Yeah,
they're in the mix there.
Exactly. And certainly going to be a threat going down the stretch, no doubt, if they can figure all that out. So that's a great shout. That'll be an interesting match, to say the two teams that don't have the same style by any means either. That's going to be a clash of styles for sure. So we'll see how that goes. Great stuff as always, Mario. Great show. Don't forget, 5:30 coming up this Sunday. It is the rivalry, the derby in all of MLS on Rivalry Week. LAFC hosts are going to LA Galaxy down at Dignity Health Sports Park. Will be the roadside. Just an incredible, incredible opportunity. This match is always nuts, no doubt. And that's why it's the best in all of MLS. And the 11 miles that separate the two, or whatever it is, 12 miles, look out. It is just too intense. I cannot wait. 5:30 for the pregame, 6 o'clock. We'll have the call on 710 ESPN and the ESPN LA app. Mario, episode 55. Great stuff, man. Take us out of here, brother.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be the blackout in Carson once again, like LAFC always do. So if you see us, say what's up. If not, make sure you check us out on the ESPN LA app or on 710 ESPN, the home of the black and gold, or catch us on the next episode of LAFC Plus. That's Dave Denholm. I'm Mario Ruiz. Peace out.